We'll check into that and make sure that it works. But I guess it works for the majority, right? I hear only 2 having issues.
This is Ricardo. I can see the page on the screen.
Okay, great. Yeah, and we can see you too now, Judge. Thank you.
Okay.
I don't understand what the deal is here, but have we got a quorum yet?
Marisol, how are we doing with quorum?
Let me check right quick. We're still missing.
All right.
So it's Vince Perez. So Mayor Margot.
I'm here.
Mayor Araujo. Ebenezer. Cesar Blanco.
Present.
Joseph Cervantes. Trent Doolittle. Arch Fierro.
Present.
Mary Gonzalez.
Present.
Tommy Gonzalez. Yvette Hernandez.
Present.
Raimundo Lara. Manuel Leo. Lizárraga?
Present. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes, we
I can hear
can.
you. Mónica Lombraña? Chuck McMahon?
I'm here.
Joe Moody?
Mm-hmm.
Sam Morgan?
Everybody needs to mute their phone after they've spoken.
I'm going to mute everybody. When I call your name, you can unmute yourself. Esteban Oliva? Lina Ortega?
I'm here.
Norma Palacio?
Present.
Javier Perea?
Present.
Henry Rivera? I know he was having issues calling in. Jose Rodriguez?
I think the second, if you can unmute your phone, Senator.
Presente.
Thank you. Rene Rodriguez?
Here.
Thank you. Sam Rodriguez?
Present.
Benjamin Romero? And Judge Samaniego?
Present.
Marisol, this is Walter Miller. I did not hear my name, but I am present.
Yes. I called you and I saw you.
Marisol, Representative Morgan, I did not hear you call my name.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Morgan.
Mayor Trujillo, I'm present as well.
Oh, yes, I am missing the Tomas Trevino.
I think Tomas is also having some connection issues.
Okay, and then Mayor Trujillo. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, Mayor, Vince, Chairman Perez is not going to be attending the meeting, so Mayor, if you don't mind taking the role as chair for this meeting.
Okay. Let's begin. Let's call this meeting to order.
All right, so the first item.
This is Rivera. He's on. Mr. Calvo?
Yes, sir.
This is Representative Rivera. I'm on.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you. All right.
Do we have any open comment?
Yes, we do have open comments.
All right, let's begin.
We have Mr. Scott White.
Marisol,
Yes.
can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I hit the unmute several times and you didn't hear me. I'm present. This is Tommy Gonzalez.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Rosales. Mr. Scott? If you might be muted, if you're just on your phone.
Hey, Scott, if you're on your phone, try star 6 to unmute it. Again, Scott, we cannot hear you. In case you are calling in, please unmute your phone. All right, Marisol, perhaps, or Mayor, perhaps if we can come back later to see if Scott is able to provide comments. Do we have anybody else, Marisol?
Not for open comments, only for the item.
All right, Marisol, just let us know if he can get on, and we'll come back, but let's go ahead with the agenda.
Okay.
All right, so item number 1, it's discussion and action to authorize the executive director to prepare letters of support on behalf of the Transportation Policy Board to be submitted with the City of El Paso applications for the USDOT build program for the following 3 projects. A, Piedras Reconstruction Street Boulevard Project. B, I-10 Upper Deck Urban Park Planning. And C, Medical Campus Park and Ride Initiative. At this point, we have, I believe, Yvette Hernandez from the City of El Paso that will make a short presentation. And we also have the 3 draft letters. We provided those as backup. Mayor, it may be a good idea after the presentation, perhaps, to take each of the projects separately in case the board has any questions about individual projects.
That's fine.
All right, so Yvette, you're on.
Eduardo, thank you. TPB members, thank you for calling in. I greatly appreciate your time and attention this morning. I will be presenting 3 projects. I could talk at length. I'm very excited about them, but I will definitely keep everyone's time in consideration. So these projects were presented to council on April 28th. Next slide. Briefly want to give the specifics of the build grant. It is a $1 billion infrastructure grant fund. They have decided to disperse the funds throughout the nation. So there is $100 million awarded to each single state with a maximum grant award at $25 million. There's also a second category eligible for planning, and this is a $15 million award. The grants must be spent by 2027, and the requirement back in the day when this was a Tiger grant, there were points awarded if the city could provide an additional match. For the build grant, they are only requesting that all applicants provide 20% of the construction or the project budget match. And 3 applications can be submitted per lead applicant. We are taking them up on that offer and submitting 3 applications. Next slide. So within the narrative, there are 4 selection or merit criteria: safety, economic competitiveness, quality of life, and state of good repair. When looking at these 3 projects, we wanted to make sure that we address all of these criteria as they are individually ranked, and that's what pushes the application on to the next stage of review. Safety is one of the first and foremost items that we looked at. We want to make sure that we reduce the number of incidents, economic competitiveness, really moving people, promoting economic development, quality of life. We have one that really provides equitable access to healthcare, meeting a specific area that they identified within their requirements. And state of good repair, improving the condition and life cycle. Innovation and partnership, they are not specifically required to be ranked, but the DOT does encourage to have these two items included within our application. Next slide. So the project outline, I'm limited to only 30 pages to convince the folks in DC the needs and purpose for these projects and to really describe the city of El Paso to them. And that's found within the project description. So we really want to give them a very specific, detailed statement of work, really identify our project schedule. So what that means is we need to make sure that we are conveying to them, these are regionally significant projects. We are conveying to them when we will go to the MPO to include within the TIP, really describing to them what are the challenges that we are seeing if these projects were not built and how they will be addressed. Project location, we've done a good job taking photos, really allowing them, since they don't have the luxury of touring our sites, really allowing them to see what is the need for each of these projects. And then the grant fund, we have to provide a detailed project budget, estimating what the construction cost will be and how that those monies are allocated. Section 3, the next section is the criteria, which was outlined previously, and project readiness. They want to make sure that these are projects that can begin within a timely manner. Like I made reference to the environmental studies, what has already been prepared, what are we looking at, right-of-way acquisition, and also public support. One of the main reasons why I'm here this morning, as DOT places a lot of importance on the letters of support and the community agreement for these projects. And then benefit cost analysis. If the government is going to invest in our community, they really want to see a return on their investment. Next slide. We want to make sure that our projects, first and foremost, are eligible. So road projects, public transportation, intermodal projects. Our application is due this Monday, May 18th, and hoping to hear back from DOT in September of this year. Next slide. Next slide. So I want to go into the details of the project. Piedra's reconstruction has been identified within the city's strategic plan. As you all know, this street lies within our 5 Points district, and it has been a neighborhood that has been identified to really invigorate the economic development. As I said, safety is a concern, so we are designing this street to boulevard concept with a road diet, providing that pedestrian enhancement for mid-block crossings, hawk systems, ADA ramps. So one of the things that we also did, we understand that if you make changes to any street configuration, there is going to be an unintended consequence. So we also performed a traffic analysis study within this area. And some of the results that came back is, yes, we have a road diet, traffic will be slowed, which is great for the pedestrians, but we also have to think of the vehicular traffic that will be in this area. So we've expanded our limits also to Raynor, and we will be restriping to configure that in a two-way direction. Also, we noticed during our study that the right turn onto Gateway had been delayed. So we're limiting our boundaries to Missouri and then north to Pershing. Also, we wanted to make sure, one of the things that you hear Eduardo say often to us is skin in the game. So this project is really developing on the Sun City Lights program for the 5 Points region. So with this, since we're really able to leverage city funds What we're doing is 5 Points was only able to work on a few blocks, as you see, Tula Rosa to Yandel. Given that we can have 80% of a project funded, we've increased our limits so that we can really create that sense of place and really drive in the dollars that we need to develop this area as the potential that it has to really be our second downtown, a vibrant neighborhood node that has small business opportunities and just a vibrant area. Next slide, please. The Medical Campus Park and Ride Initiative. So this has also been, the MCA area has been identified within our strategic plan. So this project is not a stranger to any of you. It's 3 years in the making. It's a very, very important project. It has been identified. MCA updated their master plan in 2018, and they identified the need for a mobility hub. So we have looked at that documentation, the other applications that were submitted by Sun Metro, evaluated all the potential sites, and have really found an ideal candidate on a property located along Alameda and El Paso Drive. Given with Alameda, it has the location right along our Brio RTS. It's a really exciting location because it provides that affordable transit citywide to many of our lower income constituents, community that use transit. So they have the equitable access to both healthcare and education. There is a need. Anytime you drive by I-10, you see construction going. Tech is really expanding their facilities. So they're experiencing anywhere from 9,000 to 14,000 visitors a day. So we really need to provide this infrastructure to meet this need. Next slide. And the upper deck. This is a planning grant. So last year, the city of El Paso applied for the planning grant. So what makes this different is these are monies that are awarded specifically to look at feasibility studies and planning. It's not tied into construction. It's just for the planning portion. One of the things that we realized would be a benefit is if we were debriefed by the Department of Transportation, and our applications last year, they provided constructive criticism of what we could do better. When they came to the upper deck that we submitted last year, they said that we did really well. The issue was there was no appetite from Secretary Chow to award planning grants. They have been, quote unquote, since you can see me, encouraged to now issue planning grants. So we're really excited about this opportunity. It was kind of encouraged by DOT when they briefed us. And this really gives us an opportunity. So I know that there are a lot of different perspectives, there are a lot of different opinions of how the deck should be constructed. Given that we can invest money and really leverage these federal dollars, we can have a significant planning grant that identifies and looks at the feasibility of this, looks at the constructability, looks at the...
Morning.
Good morning. So it looks at the also the environmental concerns, equitable concerns. This could really be a jumpstart to restore and connect our urban fabric, to identify different options, to be a stepping stone, even potentially to identify future projects. If you look at cities that have been successful with the CAP projects, they are now securing additional funds to build in different areas along their interstate. This is no small task. We know that it has been reported that we are potentially looking at $192 million for construction. Therefore, I feel that it is imperative that we really get behind the planning of this and the feasibility and really understanding the implications of this type of magnitude of construction. So with that, I will take any questions, comments, concerns, but really, really excited of these 3 projects. We meet the criteria that has been specified by Build, been working with different community members, neighborhood associations, city reps to get the letters of support that are needed for these projects. And now I humbly request the letters of support from TPB and the committee members. Thank you for the time to present these projects.
All right, Marisol, since we now have Scott available, let's go ahead and take his comments, and then Eduardo, you're going to have to help me identify who wants to speak because I can't tell.
All right, we'll do. Scott, if you can unmute your microphone, you're on.
Okay, so this is comment for this item or for call to public? I don't want to jump around.
Mayor, or Mr. Chair, if it's okay to Scott to provide his comment, I believe it was part of the open comment, or should
Yeah, let's have the public comment first.
Okay, go ahead, Scott.
Okay, thank you. I apologize. I only had access to the live stream, and apparently you can't make comment from there. So now I'm in with the WebEx, so thank you for letting me speak and giving me this extra time here. Today is National Bike to Work Day, and it's a part of Bike Month, which is all of May. And as we sit here and we talk about all sorts of different projects, I just want to remind everybody that we need to make sure there's equity in our transportation infrastructure. So it's not simply just people who drive to work, but it's also people who walk to work, who bike to work, who take transit to work. And we need to make sure that all these people have safe routes to work. During this time of the pandemic, we have seen our parks closed, our urban trails closed, and in that process, we may have been closing out the opportunity for people to get out to exercise, to walk to work, to bike to work. And I would simply encourage everyone to consider following a model that's called the Open Streets model and looking at closing select streets down to through traffic so that people can get out and have a safe route, a safe place where they can exercise, they can walk, they can bike, they can play, and still have the room to social distance. We need to make sure that everyone has access and opportunity. And on this National Bike to Work Day, we with Velo Paso are actually honoring those essential workers that are actually still riding their bikes to work and wanting to make sure that all the essential workers that have continued to go to work are remembered and honored because they've been keeping our community going, just as you all have been working to keep our community going. So I thank you for that. I hope you will consider opening the streets to people, and happy Bike Month. Thank you very much.
Is that it for public comment, Marisol?
We also have Tito Negro for item 1.
Okay, go ahead.
Hi all, thanks a lot for allowing me to speak. Before I speak, I had a question. I noticed that one of the project criteria was border security. Just wondering how that ties into a build grant project, but that's a bit of an aside. I spoke at City Council last week, as some of you may recall, on this issue, and I want to emphasize, I'm speaking in my capacity as the president of the Sunset Heights Neighborhood Improvement Association, and want to emphasize that Sunset Heights does not oppose the deck park, nor any of the other projects, which we know less about, but do have questions related to the proposal and its connection to the I-10 project, which is now called Downtown 10. Some of these questions are questions you've heard at these meetings before from myself and other community members. So, and these are questions that I hope y'all will keep in mind throughout the process and ask, because I had a good conversation with Ms. Hernandez the other day. I really appreciate her reaching out, and I think if we communicate a lot as we work through this, we'll end up with a product, assuming there is one. Regarding the purpose of the project, the presentation and proposal speaks about repairing urban fabric ripped apart by the construction of I-10. That language appears a lot, so we all are cognizant of what happened when I-10 was first built. So the deck could be a very nice amenity, but it's not going to make up for the further destruction that would be caused by adding frontage roads and taking businesses and homes, as it is conceptualized at this point, talking about downtown 10. Making Piedras a second downtown, depending on the details and how it affects residents and merchants, is a wonderful concept that could be expanded to really restore the connection all the way down to Alameda. Because as a community, when we talk about connectivity, we really need to keep in mind the north-south access points, not just the big funnel of east-west I-10, which leads to the idea of downtown 10 and the opportunities that we can conceive not just as the east-west corridor for continental traffic. It's been described as a backbone. So if it is, we need healthy ribs and other elements of systematic connectivity that create a healthy body and a whole. And that connectivity is on a small scale that allows local multimodal project. So from a larger perspective, the regional leadership really has a chance to be truly visionary and consider the Pass of the North in a broader sense, not just the Box Canyon through the heart of the city, where we now have 2 highways and the trains that go through this narrow area. So instead of thinking of dominating it even further with the highway, we should be thinking of the Pass of the North as a broader thing, which is the gaps through the mountain, and the Northeast Borderland Expressway, which is critical to removing through traffic to ease transportation pressure on really what is El Paso's jewel, which is not just downtown, but the 1925 city core, this award-winning, very progressive, very nation-leading urban development that we had from the turn of the century to pre-World War II. And so that's a real fact. Yes.
Good morning, sir. This is legal. Your 3 minutes are up, sir. Thank you.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, thank you very much for allowing me to speak, and thank you.
Anyone else? Marcel?
This is Jamie Erickson. Can you hear me?
Okay. Are you signed up for public comment? Is that it?
I thought so.
Okay. Continue.
I'm the president of the Five Points Development Association, and my own to challenge the widespread support, or especially stakeholder support, from the neighborhoods around this project. As the Five Points Development Association was presented the rough concept of this project on March 10th, and it was, I think, the last meeting we had, and it was at Dewey's and Giovanni and Bronson's pubs and bars on Piedra Street on March 10th. There was a brief presentation and questions, but no real discussion, no survey of support. And we've been waiting for that support. I asked for a list of attendees to that meeting so that I could survey them. If nobody else was going to survey them, I wanted to survey them. I've always had doubts about widening the sidewalks and narrowing the streets in 5 Points because of the reduction in vehicular traffic and access to that area, which concerned me. However, as I told the members of the Capital Improvements Department, I would defer, in my opinion, to the business owners along Piedras. If they want it, fine. And that's my comment.
Anyone else? Anyone else, Marisol?
No, nobody else is signed up.
All right, let's continue with the presentation. I think somebody else is going to speak. Or is that it, Yvette?
Sir, that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
All right. Eduardo, I'll let you handle questions. I know Representative Lizarga has one.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Eduardo. I don't think I gave Scott the opportunity to talk about this item.
Marisol?
I'm sorry. I think we're missing Scott to talk about the item one.
Somebody needs to mute.
Marisol, please mute everybody. Okay, Marisol, we couldn't hear you. What you were saying?
That I had Scott White also signed up for public comment on item 1.
I thought he spoke.
He spoke on the public comment, but now he wanted to speak on public comment for item 1.
Okay, that's fine. Continue.
Good morning again for everybody. Thank you for this additional opportunity to speak. This is Scott White with Bella Paso Bicycle Pedestrian Coalition, and I have a couple areas of concern on some of these projects. One is the park and ride for the UMC Center. There was a reference made to basically treating, focusing on the transit for the people of lower economic value, lower economic demographics. And really, we should be looking at transit not just simply for the people who can't afford to drive or can't afford a car. We should be looking at transit as an option for everyone. And when we build a parking garage in a location like this, what we're doing is we're encouraging people to drive to this destination versus actually taking transit. And if the Brio is going to provide that connectivity, we need to make sure that we're encouraging everyone to feel safe and comfortable using this, not just simply a certain economic part, a certain part of our community that in some ways we could be considered looking down upon, and I don't think that's really equitable. Second, on the deck park, I wish to bring to everyone's attention one of my biggest concerns with this is Yandell and Wyoming, which are going to border the deck park on the north and south limits, as well as the north-south routes that are going to go through there, whatever TxDOT comes up with, are really, TxDOT has been proposing turning these into high-speed, high-volume gateways. Having that directly adjacent to a park space is not a good thing. People are not going to feel safe. They're not going to feel comfortable. They're not going to feel like they can walk to these to this park. If we want to create this kind of connectivity to this, we have to reimagine the roadways that bound this deck park. Think of them as low volume, low traffic, low stress for people who are walking or riding, so that they feel safe and comfortable using that space if we intend to go forward with this. We also, as Cito noted, and I wish to reiterate, we need to be focusing for people on that level, on the street level versus the interstate level, focusing on the north-south connectivity. There is a proposed hike bike path on both Yandell and Wyoming, and yet it goes east and west. We need connectivity for people who walk and bike going north and south. We need to make sure the transit through this area is preserved and protected. If we go forward with this, we need to be thinking in terms of how we make this space safe, welcoming, and comfortable for people, and keeping in mind what is going to abut it directly. High volume, high speed traffic directly adjacent to a park space is not something that is desirable in any way at all. And if we want this to go forward, and if we want this space to be used and welcoming and to rebuild the fabric of our core, we need to make sure that adjacent space is accommodating to that park space. Thank you very much.
All right, Marisol, do we have anybody else?
No, we don't have any more public comment.
Okay, Eduardo, I'll let you handle the those who want to speak. I can't see.
Thank you.
Representative Lizarraga, I do know wants to speak.
Ms. Lizarraga, if you want to unmute your phone, make any comments?
Is it unmuted? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes. Okay. Good morning. Thank you so much. Yvette, I have a question on the upper deck on your slide. It's $5 million for the design, correct? And then 1 million non-federal. But then is that a typo? It says federal 15 million. Or can you elaborate on that?
Sorry, the parenthetical is the 15 million max. If we had asked for more money, we would be limited for federal dollars at 15 million. So the entire planning grant at this point, the entire budget is 5 million.
Oh, okay. Okay. And then how many grants are usually submitted for this process?
Last year, there was 665 grants submitted for the build program.
Okay. All right. Thank you for your information.
Yes, ma'am.
Are there any other questions from the TPB members? You can either raise your hand in the function there, or just unmute your phone and speak up, please. Okay, I don't see anybody, Mayor. But if I could, Mayor, I just wanted to make a comment regarding the upper deck on I-10 project. You know, the TxDOT project and the upper deck need to be considered separate projects. I know TxDOT is beginning the preliminary engineering and the environmental phase of the project. So really right now, what you see there on those slides are just concepts that have been floating around, but the actual transportation project has not been determined yet. All these comments that we're receiving right now, and including the ones that we received during the comment period for the amendments of our long range plan, all of those comments will be provided to TxDOT, and they will be included in the process for them to look at different alternatives and all that. So the upper deck and the TxDOT projects, even though they're separate projects, of course they need to be coordinated. So if the city is successful in this and receiving the award for a feasibility study, they obviously are going to have to coordinate very closely and go along the process for the TxDOT transportation project on I-10. Just wanted to make that clarification.
All right, are we taking action on each one of these separate? Is that the way you wanted to do it?
Yeah, my recommendation is to do that. So unless anybody else has any comments, Mayor, if you want to ask for motions and a vote separately. So on item A is a Piedras Reconstruction Street to Boulevard project.
Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. We understand there's no other comment. Let's vote on it.
I'm sorry, who did the motion and who seconded?
Rep Rivera did the motion.
And Representative Rodriguez, second.
And Mayor, if you want to call for the vote, the way that we've done it at TPB meetings,
right?
Call for any abstention.
No, no's or abstentions. Please note. Anybody against? Please so note. I don't hear anything. I would say the motion passes.
All right, thank you. So for item B, which is the I-10 upper deck urban power planning.
Is there a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Representative Rodriguez.
All right.
Lizarraga, second.
Okay, if there's no other, anyone against, please say nay. Okay, motion passes unanimously.
All right, for item C, the Medical Campus Park and Ride Initiative.
Motion to approve.
Representative Ortega, motion to approve.
Second.
Rodriguez.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. There's no further discussion. Let's vote. Any nays or abstentions? Hearing none, it passes unanimously.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Those are all the action items that we had for this special meeting. And again, I want to thank everybody for making the effort to participate in this special meeting. And a reminder that we have our regular meeting a week from today on May the 22nd. So that's all we have for today, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
All right.
Second.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Be safe.